Daily Freedom. I'm your host, Fernando Lopes, and I'm here for part two of an interview with my dear friend, Robert Burns, who is an attorney here in Southern California. And every time I speak with Robert, there's something either I learn or something I laugh about. He's such a great person to talk with and converse. So I thought we meet again and I can ask you some more questions about
All right.
the not only the history of Ocean Beach here that you've lived here for what, over 40 years.
42, I think. Or it's been, yeah, since yeah, I lose track of these things, sort of like my
Good, it's
age.
been a while.
Since 1976.
Okay, so
We,
that's a number that doesn't change.
yeah,
1976.
it's been longer. It's been a lawyer 42 years, I think.
Wow, yeah, that's and I wanted to ask you about some of the cases also that you've worked on, that you can share so that people also know how you've impacted the town here, but also if people want to they're going through something similar in their family or business that they can reach out to
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear there was something similar.
Yes. So I remember last time we chatted, you said that something about when you, before we get into the law in your practice, you mentioned a fun fact about the smell that you sensed, that you smelled in Ocean Beach, and it was from a plant.
Oh, yeah, it's what do they call it? Night blooming jasmine. One of my favorite experiences, not always sober, walking through Ocean Beach would be in the clouds. We get fog here in the wintertime, sometimes very, very thick. And so you don't really know what's there. You just see fog. And I'd pick up this odor. And I say that in a positive way. Fragrance, let's put it that way. And to me, it smelled like carrot cake. That's what I think of when I smell night blooming jasmine or some kind of jasmine. No, I think it's star jasmine. Night blooming jasmine, I think, is actually yellow. Um, but I'd smell them at night when I'd be around, and I guess that was when I was out for the most part. Oh, just fantastic! And I love carrot cake. I love carrot
And
cake.
then something about you brewing.
Yeah. So I got involved in brewing through my activities with bagpiping and the exposure to Ireland and Scotland, their culture, which involves a lot of drinking. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a wall there very close.
Yeah,
Uh,
careful with this wall. This wall will get you when you're not looking.
so I started experimenting with flavors because I grew up where everything was pretty much monopolized. Might have been Budweiser, Stroh, Schlitz, and yeah, that's pretty much the way I thought about it. All the same bitter beers. Well, I figured, why not take a tincture of jasmine and put it in the beer, sort of like the ancient Picts did with heather, which the Scots apparently went to war over the recipe for. And let's see how that comes out. Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, you could.
Did you have people try it?
I did, but I don't remember making and giving away that much of it. I know the Ocean Beach herbalist tried it and he liked it.
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful. I want to try if you ever do it again.
I will do it again if you keep reminding me.
A-
Uh,
And what was it like? So Christmas, the Christmas parade just happened recently. Were you in the parade?
yes, I was with the Cameron Highlanders right before I'm back. In fact, I remember we're coming down the street on Newport Avenue towards the Christmas tree, and we're playing. We just played or just starting to play. I think we were just starting to play "O Come All Ye Faithful," and we're hearing this, honk, honk, ah, and I said, "It sounds of Ukraine. You don't want that in a Christmas parade." And I'm thinking, what would Jesus say? So I gave him a nasty eye. The person that worked out payment for this, he's supposed to contact them. About the band gets a small amount of money stipend for this, and I sent something I think to the town council. It was horrible, but the parade itself, other than that, was fantastic. People everywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
we haven't done it for several years.
I
So I
was
think the
there.
pent up energy. That was a wonderful turnout.
It was.
And it was beautiful weather. I've been out there before. It froze my butt off. I remember one year it rained cats and dogs.
Oh wow. Yeah, and what do you think of the tree this year? Was it crooked enough compared to last year's tree?
Last year's tree I thought was more crooked. But yeah, it was crooked. But somebody says, "Oh, I think this is Ocean Beach." Oh, yeah, one of the people in my pipe band who's a psychologist about my age, and he says, "Yeah, it's fitting for Ocean Beach, crooked." But it's nice to be able to recycle these things, and to me, it didn't seem crooked. It seemed like last year it really was bad.
Last
Maybe
year was, yeah.
parts of it were missing or something. This year it was crooked, but it seemed to me if you aimed it in the one direction, you don't know that it's crooked.
And he was aiming towards Newport Avenue, towards
Yeah,
the street. So
I don't remember perceiving anything going down Newport Avenue weird, and it was beautiful colors all over it, throngs of people,
yeah, yeah.
and then there was On Back.
What's that?
That's the group, the meatheads behind us.
Oh, right,
That
right,
do
right.
the overline tournament, which I remember something about uniquely. One of my clients was convicted of second-degree murder before I was involved, and I was helping him pursue attacks on the judgment through writs of habeas corpus in the state and the federal courts. So that's what he got shot over there at the.
My goodness.
Wait a minute, he shot somebody else. That's right, at the overline tournament. Oh,
So compared to say back in the day, how safe is Ocean Beach now, in your opinion?
I think it's safer than it's been in the past. I remember one day, Antigone, that was her name. She was a lady artist. She came into the place I was living at and several other cottages and said, "No, we got to go out in the street and then we can do something at Lalani's." I think the artist friend of mine, that I told you I used to live with this couple. It was before that. The wife was an artist, Melissa. So it seems to me there was somebody else already at my house. And then she says, there was a woman that got dragged out of a biker bar down the street, which is not a laundromat. Is it the laundromat? No, it's the place, it's a surf place next to the laundromat at Abbott Street and Muir Avenue into the alley. The alley was where the laundromat is. And they beat the hell out of her. I mean,
Wow.
this is, who does this kind of stuff?
Mm.
But there was a much bigger biker presence in those days, and
Yeah, I haven't seen many bikers here in the last year. So I remember when moving here, seeing the helicopters maybe once a month, hovering really low, like looking for people. And I'm thinking, man, it seems like,
sometimes kids get lost.
oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, because I was
Or
thinking, like, it
worse.
seems so peaceful here. Why are helicopters coming like average once a month?
Somebody calls them ghetto birds. I've seen on social media online. Yeah, ghetto birds. There's just a range of stuff. I think more often than not, they're looking for somebody, and the person has ducked in between buildings or under a car or something, or in a dumpster. So we have problems, but no, I think it was a lot worse before, except with the homeless element. There was nothing like that when I moved here.
Really?
And I've seen nothing like it in overseas. Yeah, I'm seeing it now in Mexico. Not yet as bad as what we have here. It's horrible, and fair amount of the homeless element that are committing crimes. Anything they can do to keep their lifestyle together, which often enough is, drug soaked.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you're drug soaked, I learned as a teenager when I saw people with heroin habits, different part of the country, they're crazed. I mean, I grew up with people like this. One person was the son of the conductor of the Columbus Symphony, I think it was. So, it's just not cockroaches come out of the drain, but they became cockroaches.
Wow.
They just came out of a much better place.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, like, especially here across from the beach, there's this beautiful building here by the grass area, and
all around it,
all around that newer building.
And I think it's really got bad this year.
I have a thing. I have a
and that's aside from the
theory.
grass. They're right on their property,
Well,
up along the side, tucked in there, sleeping.
I have a theory. Well, there's a few outlets there. Not, I mean, I'm before talking about that. Actually, let me say this.
Oh, electric fence.
There are a few outlets there, great for charging devices. But I'm thinking that
Oh, that kind.
I think it would be great. And I started chatting with some of those folks, getting to know them. One of them, a couple of them I know by name. They know me by name now, and I have a theory that, or hallucination, that if residents uh, kind of like talked with these people a little more often and acknowledge their existence, just acknowledging that they are there, and then befriending them somehow, and then going to a point where there's now some affinity, some communication back and forth, maybe offering them some type of job.
We have that on Voltaire Street,
What
but down here, I don't know what goes on because my office and my living is up North OB.
what happens there in Voltaire?
Well, we've had a number of things. First of all, there was a guy. I tell you, I cried when he died. His name was Matthew. He was a real tall, kind of hunched black fella, probably in his 50s, no, maybe 60s. Um, and he used to sweep the sidewalks everywhere. There
Oh
was
wow,
something unusual with him. I'm sure it was a mental issue of some sort, but he had beautiful energy, just beautiful. He was nice to everybody, polite. The lady that ran the it was okay. It's gone now. It became a coffee place. I think it's a coffee place now. She used to run a pet grooming place. I can't remember the name. And she would let him sleep there somewhere on the property. Um, she'd give him money from time to time. I gave him money from time to time. It was just an appreciation for being a lovely person, doing stuff that's constantly beautifying the area instead of the average troll and the average non-troll that lives there throwing litter and stuff out there. And like it happened in my unit right before I left.
yeah,
Uh, um, and it was also he kept an eye on her place,
yeah,
and he kept an eye on other things, and he'd tell her about stuff that was going on. It was a white supremacist, maybe two, that were after him, and all of a sudden he died, and he was found foaming at the mouth. Now, to me, that means he had a seizure, but maybe some kind of drug did it. She was supposed to take care of investigating it, and I don't know what the result was. I
yeah.
would have loved to see a drug test to see if somebody gave him, poisoned him.
Wow.
So there was one. There was another guy named Rick. Rick wasn't quite as together as this guy here. Uh, but Rick was very nice. He's the one that told me that the Dago Chopper's place with the two Nazi SS signs for the SS, whatever the hell they were, um, from the Nazis in Nazi Germany, painted on their side. There was a firebomb rolled into their place, and that's what caused it to burn. It was a big fire.
Wow.
I had to come down to my office that night. I don't know how I learned about it to make sure that my office is still there. I didn't know where the fire was or what caused or anything else. Well, I found out. Somebody must have called me. And the official story was in the paper. The willy idiots at the San Diego Union Tribune published this. Oh, we had a 5-gallon container of gasoline. It got too close to the heater, a wall heater or whatever, and blew up. No, nobody does that. Not even tweakers.
Right.
It's just a goddamn lie.
Yeah. That's sad.
So apparently it was a problem with another biker group, or maybe somebody got ripped off. I don't know.
True.
Drugs. They were definitely into meth.
I remember having one of my childhood friends from Brazil. He started a nonprofit in there, and it was called Joy in the Streets. And they would address themselves as clowns and find homeless camps in Brazil, which in São Paulo there were a lot. I don't know about now, but before 2010 there were a lot. And I think he was doing that through his church, his Catholic church. So groups of 10, 20 people, and bring laughter and joy to people. And then after seeing, it was a weekly thing. After seeing the same people over a few weeks, they started asking questions about family, where they're from.
Yeah.
And then my friend,
a lot of people knew that about Rick.
Right.
And he, by the way, he had some jobs too. He worked for a couple of places around doing odd jobs.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
And he apparently didn't do anything crazy like his girlfriend did. She survived him, and she's definitely a tweaker.
Oh goodness!
He's
Wow.
a tweaker and a half. He was just drunk.
Oh wow. A happy drunk, a happy kind
Yeah.
drunk,
Well, he was kind. He was wonderful person.
and
He just had his problem. And at last I heard he got into some kind of convalescent care. I don't know what happened there, and then he died there.
oh wow, that's really sad.
And there are a couple others too.
Yeah.
You
Did you
know.
ever meet the guy that he would live whenever he would move here? He was on a skateboard and he was only half.
Oh yes, yes, yes. And he seemed. I didn't notice any mental illness or anything on that part of that guy.
No, no. So this gentleman, I want to remember his name, but he didn't have legs. So
I
each
always,
time we
I always
talked,
wonder how does he do what he needs to do.
yeah, yeah. Each time I saw him, I felt that the the mindset of this man must be so amazing because he was
Yeah.
always like, "How are you? Good morning, good
Oh,
afternoon."
there's none of this sheepish. I mean, he's just a very powerful personality,
Yeah,
and I say it in a positive sense.
go,
If you
go,
didn't saw him as top up only, you would never guess that.
right, exactly. No, and just seeing him and almost like an illusion that I could only see half of his body. It was just my brain would go into something like what is it, Fernando? What are you complaining about again in life? What's
Yeah,
the problem that you said you
yeah,
have? All problems disappeared.
yeah.
It's like the contrast,
And
it
he
was
can do
just,
the same thing. We're looking at people who are much worse than he is. I mean, the
oh,
people that can't think, don't have that presence of personality, don't have that power of mind, don't
mhm.
have his skills. God, he had to have skills to do what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been thinking about him because I haven't seen him in like 3 months.
No, you're right. It'd be time that we ought to find out.
Yeah, yes, maybe who can how can we find out? I remember, I think his nickname was Gunner. Now that I remember, because yeah,
One main thing might start, it'll be social media. It's just amazing how many people.
oh, that's true. Yeah. So, back to the story of my friend in Brazil. After getting to know the people living under the bridges there, he started having looking up for the finding the family members that were states, like hundreds, thousands of
Mhm.
miles away, and putting them on the phone together once a
I
week.
think you told me about that.
Right, and then I and then they started actually having instances where the families either came to get them from like thousands of miles away, or the
There are
this
thousands of miles in Brazil. I
of,
know it's big, but it's like our geography, sense of geography in this country is retarded when it comes to any other country.
well, Brazil is a little smaller than the US, but it's pretty, like,
Okay,
it's big.
so there's room for well over 1,000 then.
Oh, so is how many miles is from like California to New York?
I know to go back to Haas 2,500, so it's probably around like about probably about 3,000 or so.
Okay, good. So it
I
was
don't want to
probably
go to
like
New York. New York, ain't that where Trump lives? I'm sorry.
where does he live?
I don't know. It could be Mar-a-Lago or
In
something.
Florida?
It could be in the Kremlin.
Yeah, yeah. I hear it. Is it a club? Is it a house?
I
But
hear all that stuff. Yeah, it seems to be a club for spies.
I be, I don't know what to believe what I hear on news. I know that I get my news from comedians because if I'm gonna get news, might as well be in a funny way. So
Oh, he broke it for me. Whew, thank God.
so the late night show comedians of here, it's usually how I'll get some news, and usually uh, I don't know what to believe anyway, so might as well, if I'm gonna get the news, to get it through fun ways.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a point about people talking with homeless people. So inspired by my friend, I said I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna start chatting with homeless people just to see what happens, because maybe the families will get connected and they will go from homeless to now being
Yeah,
in a
you've got
home,
a good template.
right? So I started doing that when I lived in Orlando, and there was one gentleman who said, we talked for 30 minutes one time, and I said, you know what, here's some money for you to get a shelter, uh, and then here's my card. If you want work, I can give you work. And 30 days later, he called me and said, hey, you remember me? I said, I remember. Yeah. Yeah, come by the office. So I had a real estate office at the time, and I put him to write signs that would say, "We buy houses" or "Stop foreclosure,"
Hmm.
and that was his job. And then someone else would go and put those signs out on street corners for the week, for the weekend. And what I started doing, I started actually also having him watch a documentary called The Secret, which is
Hmm.
a documentary
I have the
about.
book.
You have the book, documentary about for
Well,
the
the woman who wrote that, her last name is my familial surname. Before it became
Burns.
Burns, it was Byrne. But she's
What?
not one. I think it's either, I got something from her in email. Either it was a married name or it's a stepfather's name. I can't remember which.
That's amazing. Rhonda
Yeah,
Burns.
Rhonda.
Rhonda Burns.
Byrne, no S.
Right, right.
And there was no S here in Ireland either. And that's only three generations back. You changed.
That's amazing. So I would have him watch parts of that documentary, and then he would come once a week, work for a couple hours. And then I one day I said, "Hey, what are you getting out of this documentary that you watch?" And he goes, "Man, I'm creating my life. Like I'm creating my life, and I actually get to choose what tomorrow will bring." And I'm like, wow. So within
Rhonda, look what I've done.
exactly, yeah, he was so proud of himself. I was so proud of him. And within about 6 months, he said, "Hey, Fernando, remember that time that you offered to look up my family and reconnect?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm ready. Would you do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you bet. Come back tomorrow, and then I'll let you know if I have, what I have found." And just an easy search online, I was able to find his. And this was back in 2000, man, 2005, 6, 7,
Hmm.
back a long time ago. And I was able to find his sister's phone number. So I called her after he left, said, "Hey, are you so and so's brother, sister?" "Yeah, well, he and I are friends. He works with me. I've been helping him out. He wants to talk with you. Can we schedule a call for tomorrow?" And she started crying. She couldn't believe it. She
Wow.
had not talked with him for 10 years, man. So he came back, got them on the phone, and man, I was like, "Robert, this is so emotional. Is it okay if I record this moment before I call her?" And he said, "Yeah." So um, I, called them, and he started talking with his sister. Man, I start crying. They start crying. Everybody's crying. There, it was just beautiful. Then I left the room, let them talk there.
And
But
some people don't realize you can cry when you're happy.
oh yeah, tears of
Why are
joy,
you
man.
crying?
Tears,
As if, why are you sad? Well, I'm not sad.
yeah, tears are very, very healing.
I had a grandfather, the one that was in construction, very big in construction back in Ohio, and a big, big, strong guy, and um, a man's man in that sense. And I found out he died right before I was born. He cried a lot,
Oh, wow.
and apparently it was just emotions and drinking. And I don't know anything more than that. I can't remember who told me. It could have been my mom. She's not around anymore. I doubt it was sadness, but
Yeah,
it was just, yeah,
yeah,
that's something not everybody understands.
yeah, totally. And I think it's a good thing to cry. I've been finding myself lately, like I was having this conversation with a dear friend recently about when was the last time you cried. And I said, okay, it was during movies. It was during the last movie. Seems like during a movie, it's very easy for me to,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, cry. So, but it would be cool to have
Somebody it's
experiences.
not a comedy or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah. I think movies are great for that, to get the emotions going, open the heart, and then inspire us to then have conversations, with people. But so Rob, so yeah, so his name, this person's name, his first name is Robert as well,
Good
like yours.
name.
Good name, right? Good choice of name. And it's interesting that his name, his last name, that combination. I've met three other Robert with his last name over my lifetime after I met him, and I'm like, what is the universe trying to tell me with this Robert and his last name? It's like
Name change.
nature.
I'm just teasing you.
It's like
Or your
wow,
firstborn son.
something must be. And then yeah, and even friends that became real close friends that have the last name only, and I'm thinking, man,
Roberto works too.
Roberto, yes. So get this, after the phone call, they Robert told me, hey, how about help me get to from Florida to North Carolina where his family was. I want to go and help. So he learned that his brother became handicapped. So he
So he didn't know that.
no, it was 10
Oh,
years without
yeah.
talking with the family.
Yeah. Well, he could have
So
died in that time.
oh my gosh, yeah. So he decided to go. So he said, Fernando, I know what I'm gonna do. Help me get to North Carolina, and I will become he didn't say I will become a caregiver, but I will take care of my brother. So he went from being homeless to being a caregiver, and that is
Wow.
yeah, from
And he
homeless.
probably got paid for that to the
Well,
government.
oh my gosh, that's true.
You know, those things usually they don't pay a ton, but it's better to get paid for something you want to do anyway than to not get paid when you need money.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. So for family, for people that are watching, listening, that might be in that situation or know families that uh, may need some money, one can become a caregiver to the family member and get paid by the
At least
government.
in this state, I have a friend, a musician friend, who's a very talented musician, makes money at that. And she's been married before. She owns her own home, but she gets paid to care for one of her children that's got, I think it's Down syndrome or something.
Oh wow, that's amazing! I didn't know that.
So it's nice, but it's a job. And the
Yeah.
government can say, well, at least we don't have to do it.
Okay,
You know, you can do it better and cheaper.
that is
In
amazing
her case, anyway.
information.
I don't know. Some people I wouldn't trust for the job.
That is amazing. If one wanted to learn more about this, who could what would they look up online, or what department would they
I'm,
search?
I'm sure it'd be the San Diego County. God, I don't know what agency it would be. Probably wouldn't be too hard to find out.
Yeah, yeah, maybe social
It could
work,
be, let's see, In Home Supportive Services Program. Could be that one.
in home
And it's
supportive
got an
services.
acronym of a sort. It's all these letters. So it looks like a bunch of dominoes. You know, you just knock them down. Come up with one or two, or a word anyway.
I learned the other day that there's an agency that gives out devices to people that may have maybe hearing impaired. So certain
Hmm.
cell phones, or they will get telephones installed or certain devices installed for people that may not hear very well, and it's free, paid
Hmm.
by everyone that's paying phone bills. I think on a phone bill there's a tax. Do you know about that one? That
I
the
don't know about the tax, but I do know that ever since I've gone over to these things, uh,
cell phone,
I've been paying more for less.
more
Yeah, we never
money
had
for.
drop calls with landlines. Not that I can recall. Never had, oh, you're breaking up. Can you hear me now? Good. Thank God. How well? You sound like you got marbles. So, and they take taxes out of this. And of course, the Public Utilities Commission is not supposed to do it because these folks think they're better than utilities.
Okay.
That's all that it is. It's a utility. It's like the other. It's just morphed. Just like a record had become a download after becoming a cassette. Just morphs.
Yeah, it's just more. Yeah, it's from the cassette to the CD. No, L record. No, cassette record. Or which one came
The
first?
records came. Oh, you were young. Well, we had something before records. There used to be some kind of a big thing that spun around, and I think it had a needle, but it used a metal disc or something like that. It was before gramophone, maybe.
Oh
Most
wow.
before my time, or most of it before. I think I saw one of those with my grandfather. When I was about 3, but never when I got older. Then we had record players, little records, and long playing ones, LPs, and the smaller ones are 45s or 75s. And I don't know what those stood for. 45 inches, centimeters, minutes. No, not minutes. I don't know what the hell.
Right.
Usually one song on one side, one on the other.
Yes, yeah. Side A, side B.
And then we went to 8 tracks, I think, before cassettes, and then the CDs, and now the download. Could you just imagine? Well, you don't produce anything physical, uh, Mr. or Mrs. Musician or singer, so we're not going to pay you anything. What are you? Just download. Well, that's pretty much the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's become it's changed. It's I wonder what's gonna happen next because it's already we cannot see it, but it stays installed in a computer. So there's a server. So say with YouTube or Spotify, iTunes, at least there must be some type of I don't know if it's physical. When if something's digital, it might not be physical. Is it created? That's is it's played? I'll probably have to have. We'll probably need a computer scientist or to explain this to us.
I'm waiting for a hologram. My favorite group come out there and just be right there. You can't touch them because they're just energy, but wow, it's right here. Live
Have you
performance.
tried the VR things that you can put on your face and you?
I've seen them. I can't remember. I tried it. I think I tried one once, but it could have been long enough ago that it wasn't very good. I don't remember anything spectacular about what I did.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I've heard that some people. I was talking to someone this week, and he's okay. I remember now. So he's the son of a friend. So he's I think he's still a teenager, maybe 19 years old, turning 20. And he said that in the last 2 years he's been spending over 10 hours a day with his VR headset playing a game. And he said that one of his friends spending like 23 hours a day with the headset. So he
Maybe
falls
really
asleep with the
addiction.
headset. Yes, became an addiction for some. And there's a world that happens in there. So he's living a world that he has got friends there in that world who
Yeah.
are also playing, the headset.
They
So
probably have sex there too, just like the folks on the telephone and the internet. I've talked to psychologists about it. I've had psychologists lecture people about that in seminars.
to do
Lecture
it or
about the
not do it or
not
the
to do
lecture,
it, but
not,
it's just the lack of intimacy, human contact. It's sort of like COVID to the extreme, but only in one facet of people's lives.
indeed, indeed. Which brings me then to the conversation of Spanish because you're talking to me, you're telling me
See,
how's your Spanish going?
oh bueno, bueno.
Yeah.
Mi novia no habla inglés, not mucho.
So you only speak to her in Spanish.
See,
That is wonderful.
yeah. So es maravillosa para mí, para no es maravillosa para ti.
But
Ella.
para ella,
Yeah. Oh God, here we go again. I sometimes I see the frustration. At
yeah,
least I got her broken out of the habit of speaking fast, which
interesting.
I used to do in English. I
Does
took a trial practice seminar here. It was about a week long, broken up. It was very, very good. Put on this in a court, and one of the people conducting one of the breakout groups for doing actual portion of a trial, so that I spoke very slow. And I'm thinking that never used to be said. I remember one gal, Susan Jacobs, in my 10th grade class, said, "Were you on speed or something?" I didn't do any drugs back then, and not even coffee. But I was high strung, and I speak very fast. So yeah,
does your girlfriend try to learn any English at all?
yeah. She's working with Duolingo right now. Um, if we spend more time together, we'll do more.
And
It's not fair. To me, I'm selfish. Her family told me to start speaking English to her child, her baby. I'm like, shit. If I could talk to a baby in Spanish, I've got it. I'm set.
yeah, you got it made.
I finally can communicate to somebody in Spanish. But no, I'm going to start doing more of that. So it's selfish for me. Because if I, there's one gal I met, I call her the Diosa de Querétaro. She was up here in Ensenada, supposedly trying to move up here, and the next thing I know, she's gone back there, way down deep towards Mexico City, and I developed an attachment to her. which I can't explain, but I don't want to leave it just online. And then this other girlfriend came along, so that killed it. Good. It was tortured.
But yeah,
But we communicated. She starts putting more and more English there, and I'm thinking, shit, I'm not going to learn anything here if I'm doing everything in English. So maybe that's what she was trying to do. So that's fine. So
she's trying to move here. You're trying to move there. She's
that-
trying to learn English. You're trying to learn Spanish.
my favorite. I can't remember the two the big lady rock stars. And that didn't do anything for me. Well, I want. You got it. I want to jump down there, and she wants to jump up here.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
totally.
But if the relationship happens, it can be in both places.
It
The
can.
current girlfriend, she lives towards Tecate, so no matter how much she is up here, she's still going to have family down there. I'd be happy. I could live down there. I could live up here. It's not way down there,
No.
which I contemplated. But when you feel your brain is immersed in love, you do crazy things.
Oh yeah.
But at least you can't say it was meth.
No, it was different. It was dopamine.
And you can't say it's rotting the brain cells like meth.
No, not at all. And this,
But it was waking me up. I had about a month. I would wake up early every morning. It was horrible.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just I couldn't sleep.
that's good. That's good. That's good.
Good if once you get everything done, but
It's motivation for me. I think being in love is big motivation, and if I'm not in love, it's like I'm not living my
He's in love.
purpose. I am, yeah. and it reminds me when I was learning English when I moved here, '98. I was learning English, and one of the ways what I did is I started watching kids channels or kids program because it was slowly spoken
it's better if you have subtitles
with subtitles, and then
in that language.
in that language, yes.
That's one of my teachers.
Yeah, so then there's the sound and there's the subtitles. You see and you hear, you start making the connection.
And you have visuals. God, it's so much easier when you have visuals, sign, body language, whatever's going on there, rather than just Duolingo. It's just words. Every once in a while, you get to work on something with a picture or something.
Yeah.
And so, this is about a party, or this is about a sports game or whatever else. That's a clue. When you have that stuff with the kids, a lot of that visual stuff really helps.
It does. It does a lot. And I remember one big things to learn a language. So for anyone who wants to learn a language, here's my advice: stop translating.
So I've been told that too.
So stop translating and
Guilty.
Yeah, stop translating and start voicing the sound of the word, and then telling your brain to make the connection of that sound with that object. So for instance, this right here, I would point to this. So I'll say something in Portuguese: telefone celular. So instead of me saying, oh, this is a cell phone, I would not translate. I would just get for what it is, what the word is, and not translate. So skip the translation.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, kids program, so that's slowly spoken. Then the other one is get a partner that does not speak the language, or that will be committed to you learning the language.
Right. It disciplines enough to not speak it or can't speak it.
Or can't speak it. Yeah.
I got the latter.
And exactly. And
I'm happy with that.
I've been doing some extra study lately on relationships and books about relationships. And one of the books talked about how couples that did very well or are doing very well, some of them don't speak each other's languages.
Wow.
And
that is part of it. The grass is greener on the other side of the fence. I like it over here. And she's thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And so
something like that.
And everything is more important. And it's not as easy to express, but I don't know. It's just, to me, it makes it more interesting. You got to get somewhere along the line. You got to progress, but my feeling is I'm never going to progress enough to say, oh, I'm fluent in Spanish. So I did great, but my goal is to be able to communicate without being a horrible impediment. Oh, I need my translator.
Yeah.
Or, God, what's the word? What's the word? And having to say, well, and then speaking it in Spanish, so it's kind of, come on, like, come on, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they help you a lot, huh? And the gestures. Well, how about this? One last question before we close. How did you get connected with uh, the bagpipe?
The bagpipe.
Yeah.
Well, there was an old Scotsman. I didn't know what he was. I just knew there was an old guy came up to my office. I could understand hardly a word he said. He was from Glasgow. And if you know anything about Glasgow, there's certain neighborhoods there where most Scots from Scotland cannot understand what they're saying. It's that thick and whatever. Well, I didn't know what he was saying. Finally, with enough repetition, same thing with Spanish, it sunk in. Oh, he knew my name was Robert Burns, and he wanted to take a card to friends of his in the Robert Burns Club of San Diego, named not after me, but the poet, neither of which ancestrally are Burns. Poet was Burns. Changed it. He was born there. He changed it after his father died. So did his brother Gilbert. And my father's father's father in Ireland was born Byrne. So whatever. I was interested in the genealogical aspect at that point, which I'll get into it. But he wanted a card, so I signed it, 1794 or something, a legitimate time in the bard's life, and he was happier as could be. This is a retired engineer, civil engineer. He was part of no, some kind of an engineer. I think it was a different kind of engineer. He was part of the British brain drain that we sucked out all this talent from Great Britain. I think aerospace and whatever else, I think down there at, God, what are the names of those places? Aurora and so on and so forth downtown, basically airplanes. One guy had actually, ended up having a Rolls Royce shop. He was from Scotland.
Oh my goodness.
He worked in Canada where he was at for a while, building a flying saucer that only maybe 8-10 feet off the ground, some number of feet off the ground, nothing horrendous.
Wow.
And so there was really brain power. Came over here, we used it. Okay, so I eventually somehow he put me in touch with the organization. They used to advertise in the British paper, which for some reason I can't remember what it's called, the Union Jack. And I think after the second time I tried contacting him, or in a different way, I finally heard back from they invited me. And I was always interested in learning about the Bard. It was my dad's name also. And he had a book of the Bard's poetry. And I found it easier to read than that damn stuff from Shakespeare I had to read in high school. But it was still difficult. But it was interesting. And I figured I couldn't go wrong if I learned some poetry and having creative involvements anyway. And I was always interested in the past because I was raised in an organization called the Children American Revolution. So it was effectively as if I was raised to a certain degree, like I at least had a near relative in that era.
Wow.
And so it always kind of hearkened to me. And then we had all the music. There's three things, those two, and then there was the world music that came about during the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Rolling Stones. Believe it or not, for a while it was really Jethro Tull, living in the past. We had world music, Renaissance type of music and stuff going on in the '60s, and that spoke to me. And it was the music, I think, that was the vehicle that transformed me. I was already a musician, and I ended up learning about from a paper called The Celt, no longer published, about these Celtic music sessions that were held at Balboa Park at the House of Ireland, which I didn't know anything about. The international mycologist, I've been here once before and forgot about him, and I loved it. And I started taking classes with the guitar, which the instructor just quit right before I uh, came on to this, but we had some people to kind of let us find our way, and they were teaching tin whistle, and I figured, bond with my daughter, who was 6 years old at the time, my first daughter, and so she studied tin whistle, and we go to these sessions and together, which became a wonderful social thing. And I fell in love with the tin whistle. I'd hear it. To me, it was like that bluesy guitar that Jimi Hendrix would play, just piercing.
Hmm.
If you know anything about music, it's like a sine wave rather than these fuzzier waves, just pure.
Wow.
And the flute's not that pure. The flute's fuzzier. And after years into that, obsessed, and I played, did child care for the baby and stuff. We had a baby about that time. Um, I got pretty good at it, and folks were some guy wanted to teach me the bagpipe. I found wow, because he wanted to feather his, build up his pipe band. And he was affiliated with the Burns Club. So I figured, these musicians are always telling me they're emulating the pipes. I really want to do is play the electric guitar and
Hmm.
play this Celtic music on it, and some of the stuff I liked otherwise. And I figured I'll learn just enough on the pipes to emulate it, and then I will take it on to the whistle and everything. I did for the whistle, the guitar I never did. That'd take a lot more time learning lead, and I got deeper into the bagpipes, and then I found I could actually make money playing. And the guitar players are generally working for free,
Wow.
or as we say derogatorily in the union, paying to play. Just the opposite. Uh,
Wow.
so that's how I got into piping.
I
I
haven't heard you
continued.
play. Maybe one day. Are you
What we you should remind me is to bring them to one of the networking groups for Christmas, and I'll play some Christmas carols.
okay? It happens every Tuesday, and now we're meeting at a new location,
Yeah, it's the
New Break.
New Break. That's the one right across County Border, Lifeguard Tower, right? Because
Um,
there's a New Break up on Sunset Cliffs too.
oh, there is no. This one is right here,
Okay,
next to
good.
the lifeguard, across from the lifeguard station.
So yeah, remind me. I'm not sure I'll be. Let's see, Tuesday next week. I should be here. It's a Tuesday after. I'm not sure,
Yeah, awesome.
but I'm
So
pretty sure I have it in my calendar.
I'll remind you for sure.
It's sort
Then
of like the 14th. No, 13th. Okay, I'm gonna put pipes in there.
yeah, at noon. Nice. So if you watching,
Because after
listening, and you're
that,
gonna
we
be in
might.
OB
I could always do
next
it the
Tuesday,
20th too.
what's that?
Could always. Oh no, I can't do the 20th because I have to be there for SEG&E. I'm not even sure I'm going to be here on the 20th. I don't know how I'm going to handle that
Yeah,
because then I can go down to my girlfriend's and not have any. Everything dies in the legal world for the most part around Christmas.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it does for my bagpiping. I've got several gigs, and the last one's on the 14th.
Got it. So as we close here, what are you taking on new clients for your practice?
Oh yeah, yeah. Somebody asked me yesterday, my mechanic, "Are you retired?" No.
Okay, who's what kind of cases would you like to take on? What kind of clients would you like to have?
Well, most of what I do is family law, probate, and personal injury. In the family law area, probably the most balanced are the divorce cases. We deal a lot with, at least the people that have anything, assets and liabilities. The toxification element can come up in anywhere. It can come up in a divorce. No, you can't get a divorce. Yeah, I can. It can come up with custody. So and so, the other parent is a molester. That can
Oh
come
my
up
gosh.
outside of that in domestic violence. These high emotions don't bother me, but they tend to screw up the ability to properly get a case processed.
Mm,
And so you have problems getting paid as a lawyer. You have problems with client getting things done. I got one client, I can't get her to finish up some of her forms that she needs to do just in a divorce case. I don't
mm.
know what it is. I think it's depression.
Oh wow. I have a question for
Yeah.
you in regards to divorce. Have you seen the billboards? Some billboards, for heading downtown to the airport, by an attorney, and he specializes in divorce, and all of his billboards are hilarious.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so there's I think it's Miranda.
Oh, I know the law firm.
Okay, their billboards are hilarious. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm not even going to mention because some have like double meanings
Well, I'm
and
gonna have to look for them. That'll
oh
cue me
my
in.
gosh, they're the best. Like for funny pun, like lots of puns in very small, very few words.
Well, that sounds like a very good way of doing it. It's a lot better than the stuffy lawyer. Hi, I'm Attorney King, or I'm not saying anything about
Yeah,
Heathersay,
yeah,
but I mean his are only so good. Or these other ones where they just you just feel cold, or oh, that's one of those alien people. I'm going to be nervous in his office or her
no,
office. I think
yeah,
it's a very good way of doing
yeah.
it, as long as it doesn't appear to be a joke. But I assume it's not.
No, and I think it's I think they've been their niche is man because it seems like they're trying to empower men to not be
You sure
say
it's not the men's legal center?
no. It's I think it's Miranda.
Okay.
But all the jokes seem like it's telling the guy that might be say taken being been taken to the cleaners, so to speak, to not be taken advantage of.
Huh.
I'm not saying that he's right or wrong, but it's hilarious. I think it's he's trying to appeal to men. Um,
Or maybe he's got somewhere else that appeal to women.
exactly. I
Because
think
I
the
know he,
marketing is just genius, and I've been thinking about reaching out to them, and I want to maybe if you do you know them at all?
not personally.
But now that you say you do divorce, it will be any attorney that does divorce to offer some service so that as these two people, the couple are going to divorce, they can have less stress. So say
Hmm.
with hypnotherapy, life coaching, they can have less stress.
That's important. That's important. And you also in real estate, that comes up quite often too. Having to sell the family home
Yeah,
or other real estate assets.
yeah, of a few of the
The apartment buildings,
right, half of the
vacation
properties
homes.
that I purchased back in the day were from divorce. One half divorce, the other half was unemployment,
Yeah,
lost their
I
job.
don't wish breakup on anybody or death, but those things happen. And until you do it, go through it, you probably don't appreciate how stressful it can be.
Yeah,
And when you're working with people, you can appreciate when you go through it, you can appreciate it. But the other folks, generally, I haven't done it. I haven't been divorced yet. And I don't know anybody that's been divorced. Well, I'm just throwing that out there. In
yeah.
some places, that's probably the case. California, it's like, I know plenty of people divorced. I've been divorced 3 times myself or whatever. But it's an important thing.
And I was thinking that it might there might be less hours. This is my hallucination that if I did work with an attorney where they're referring all their divorcees to work with me or my team, that because the people will be more relaxed, there'll be less hours for the attorneys to
Yeah.
charge. So I was thinking like how to then 'cause they'll be like making less money, but the people are getting more results. So do you have any advice for me on how to approach attorneys
I
that have a
think
high?
a happier client is better. There's nothing worse than billing a client. I had this case here recently. The client was doing crazy stuff. I can't say it because somebody might put it together. And I had to start distancing myself from it. I didn't have a retainer. All of a sudden, the stuff went crazy because she went crazy, had me do the stuff. I said, I got to back off. And she kept going crazy. And now I'm at the point where I don't have to do anything. Um, let me try to remember what my thought was.
That they you had it's better to have a
Oh,
happy
yeah.
client.
I resent having to do free work for a client that is either unethical, which I'm not allowed to do anyway, or really grates me. And it's one thing to get paid to do it, something that's ethical that grates me, but it's another thing that, and some of the stuff this person did is either unethical, and I was able to avoid it, or close enough to it that somebody might somehow tarnish me as the same brush. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I don't need that, and I don't deserve it. you
So you think it's better to
the other is to bill them for a bunch of stuff that you may not be comfortable with, but you feel is ethical, and maybe a lot of it's hand holding. And the conscience is the client shouldn't be having, if it's a client's filthy rich, Well, it probably doesn't matter. But anybody else, it's like your hard-earned money or inheritance, whatever, is getting wasted.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste somebody's money. And then what's even worse, if you somehow do it and feel that the client needs it done in any way, and you just say, God, this is a waste, but the client's insisting on it, the client changes the tune later, and all of a sudden sees stuff through a different lens, then you could be looked as the bad guy. Well, you allowed me to do this, but you insisted that I do it. But it's just so much better when it's really meritorious. Got to be the grown up.
Yeah. So should I approach the Miranda Law Group, and because they might have like so many clients with their advertisement, and offer them
Well, I think you need to be able to show what you're doing is properly licensed. Give some idea of your fees. Point out the benefit of a client who is able to live in his or her skin a lot easier, is going to be happier, period, is, yes, I believe is going to result in a lot less work because nobody can process information. It needs a lot more hand holding or explanations when they're stressed to the max, because we all go through it from time to time.
and they think they'll be happy to know that they're going to take a pay cut, but the clients will be happier.
Well, they might, who knows, they might get a pay increase. Somebody, when people get depressed, they often look just the opposite of, you hear bipolar or manic depressive. One of the aspects of depression is just not being able to sleep, getting all stressed out, and all of a sudden you look hyper, you're real hyper. Well, these are people that might, in the depressive mode, say, I'm not going to pursue this. Screw it. Whereas in a better mode, say, this is a good way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think I think the law firm needs to think about a competency and quality of client, for the client's sake, because to the extent the client's spending money for a lawyer that shouldn't be spent, the lawyer shouldn't feel good about it. And if the client's in a better state, might very well. This is one of the reasons I believe in free initial consultations. You have a huge pay barrier there. You might be turning away a case the client doesn't realize is near worth what it is.
Mm.
A lot of times they think that this molehill is worth a mountain, but just the opposite is true too.
Yeah.
And most referral organizations, whether they're insurance companies, legal insurance, or the bar association, or anything else, require that. And I know there's some lawyers, I've seen them lecture, make us lawyers feel that we're cheating ourselves to be doing anything for free. I firmly believe in it, and that's a particular part of it is a service. And we're supposed to be professionals, not selling candy at a store or something. Who gives away candy? Well, probably do to homeless, but most people don't think about that.
Well, thank you, Robert, for coming on today. It's always so much fun to chat with you. And
How the time flies.
yeah, time does fly. Folks, if you've taken one, two, or three takeaways from this conversation, comment below or call someone and share what your takeaway is, whether it is to maybe if you haven't talked to your attorney recently, maybe, call your attorney, have a conversation, see how, things that could be talked in regards to business or will or things that we haven't even talked about here. And if you don't have an attorney and you're here local to Southern California, look up Robert Burns. And put into, I think one takeaway for me for this conversation is the importance of having a life that's full, because then, like you, Robert, you have so many stories to share because you lived like a full life and you still living a full life. And that's my biggest
Don't
takeaway.
die young.
Don't get old.
Don't die young.
That's it. Don't get old, don't die young. You got it, folks. Thanks, Robert.
You're welcome.
One more again. And folks watching, listening, thanks for tuning in. Share, like, comment, and have a great day, great evening, great morning whenever you're watching this. And bye for now.